Alright, guys, I'm very sorry. I ended up accidentally unplugging my microphone. I do this thing where, and I hope everything's still working, because that could definitely put the cabling through some shock. I'm sure. I'm sure it could put the cabling through some shock. And I wonder if it's going to be doing all that, like, error stuff now. But basically, what I was doing and what I have to do is I have to put my gloves, I have to sit on my gloves and have the heat seater on in order to warm things up. I am kind of ticked off my car doesn't have a heated steering wheel. I've talked about this before. I really don't like it, but I wasn't really thinking straight. Like, I feel like now, even just, I've only had this car for like a year, a little over a year, But in that year, like, I already understand myself, like, so much better, It's just like, so much has changed. And I don't know. Like, I know myself very well now. You know what I mean? And whatever my next car, whenever I'm getting my next car, it's probably going to be a very fun experience. Of course, that is if I can even really afford anything that interesting. And if there's even that many options in the future, because from the looks of it, the way things are going now, like, it might just be kind of like all the brands are getting pretty cheap. So, I don't know. I'm trying to squirm out of my winter coat a little bit because I can get too overheated. So. But yeah, I don't know. That was stressful, the whole recording getting cut thing, but it is what it is. I hope I remember to splice them together. And yeah, I don't know. I still really like, I don't. Oh, you know what I do have to talk about actually? I got in this huge argument with this guy on, yeah, we were just texting on Discord, and I feel like this kind of stuff happens a lot where it's like I drop my, and I even told him the thing that's crazy is, like, I wasn't even trying to act like this was extreme, but what's funny is, and I notice this a lot with people, and it kind of shows just how fake and shallow people are. I'm talking about a lot of ideas he agrees with, and then he's like hyping me up. He's being super kind to me, and he seems like such a nice guy. Like, he's really being positive towards me. I said I appreciated him reaching out, all that stuff. And then towards the end of the conversation, or like, well, and it didn't really end up being the end of the conversation. This was really just the beginning of the conversation. It ended up being like pretty terrible, you know? Ended up being pretty bad. Like, I forget what it came up, but we were talking about, like, the unfairness in the economy, and I made probably one of my most reasonable takes, that, like, you really shouldn't allow inheritance, because it's like the biggest problem probably with like wealth issues. There should be like a pretty steep inheritance tax, like anything above, I don't know, like $500,000 or like $1 million. There should be like a pretty aggressive inheritance tax, because really most of the problem with society, or like a continuous capitalist society, is all that residual like disadvantage or advantage, right? Because you have like a lot of families in the 1900s, if they had played smart and saved a bunch of money, now you have maybe like 5% of kids in the 21st century who are basically just set. And then the other 95% of us, like, oh, well, there may be like, 10 or 20% who have like, I don't know, when their parents die, they might end up with like 50,000 in inheritance, a home, relatively like decent stuff, but not like the 5% is like people like trust fund babies. It's probably not 5% that are like a full blown trust fund baby, but maybe we'll say like maybe like a 0.5% meets that like fully blown, or like 1% meets that trust fund baby status, and then maybe about 5%, 5 to 10% are in this, maybe just 5 are in this like semi trust fund baby status, where it's like they're basically like a baby trust fund baby. They're not, excessively taken care of, but as long as they work a job, even at part time, they're just going to be completely fine, because they have, if you're getting like a $700,000 inheritance from your parents and a home, you're going to be completely fine, unless you're like really terrible at financial management. But I said that idea, and that idea is actually one of my most objectively correct ideas. Like, when you get into morals and ethics of society, it's an amazing idea to have like a very high inheritance tax, or basically to make it so inheritance doesn't even, it's not even something you can really do. I mean, maybe there's a certain like budget allotment for like sentimental possessions or like things like that. But, and then when I said that, when I said, really the problem is wealth inheritance, he was like, oh no, that's extremely stupid. He was like, I believe that not only if somebody makes a lot of money, they should pass it down to their kids, they ought to. And so I guess I really should have like stopped it there and realized the person who I was dealing with was like really stupid, because I understand that there is an ability to hold that opinion with intellect, because you could kind of go into this, well, technically what you work, you own, and you should be able to pass it on. But I've already kind of debunked that. It really doesn't make any sense, because then for one generation it makes sense, but then the next generation that is receiving that inheritance, it immediately starts to not make any sense, because now you have an economy where there isn't really enough to go around, and you just randomly have people who may not have even been talented or noteworthy otherwise, but now they're propped up just because of their parents. And that's just not good. It's not good for capitalism. And that's like the other thing, because this guy, like, I don't even know what he was on about. But anyways, the next thing he blurted out was that he was like, you live in the freest economy of all time. He was like, you have more opportunity now than ever before. And I was like, that's completely incorrect. Like, what are you talking about? You're just like saying stuff. And that's the thing that's funny is he said that I was just saying, he was like, you just say stuff. I was not just saying stuff. Like every time I brought up a point, I brought up some kind of rationale or evidence. And he would just say stuff. He would just be like, you live in the greatest economy. Your ability to move up is higher than ever at any other point in history. And I tried to tell him like, you're just like wrong. Like I don't know what you're talking. There's no data. The data shows that class moving up has declined substantially in America and in Europe and in all these countries, and it's mostly due to what I'm talking about. Because if you have inheritance set up, then it's inevitable that you're not going to have class moving up. You're not going to be able to achieve that. Okay? And I don't know, like I just think people get very uncomfortable about it. I've seen in when ChatGPT talks to me about it, like people are very, very uncomfortable about control, in a way that I'm really not. Like I'm actually very like laid back about control. Of course, it depends on like what the person is actually putting me through, but as a whole, I'm actually like I don't really mind being controlled as long as it's for the better. Like if somebody was like I just don't I think I see it with so much more nuance than a lot of other people even see it or can comprehend it, because I don't really care about control much at all. I don't really like freedom, control. It doesn't really faze me that much. I don't really want or feel entitled to freedom, because but again, it gets tricky because obviously the control comes with a huge caveat, which is, you know, you have to be, freedom comes with a huge caveat. And the caveat, wow, that was not good. I just like kicked my throttle by accident. I've never done that before, and my car just like, wow, I don't know how that happened. I like barely hit my brake pedal too. Yeah, that's not good, but I don't think anything really happens from that. I guess it was just for like a second. But yeah, that was I'm not happy about. Anyways, trying to figure out where I was at in that conversation. The other thing he said is he was like, "Well, you live in the most free society of all time, and but some hate speech laws are preventing that or something." Like I don't. He's like, "Well, no, there have been some recent hate speech laws that are putting that in jeopardy." And like I was like, I don't even, the idea that in modern society you're like freer than ever is that's just, it's just not even that debatable. I told him the only way I could agree with that, and I like asked him, I was like, well, I don't really know what you're talking about, because modern society isn't really free at all. It's like, unless you're assuming potential to be free, like if you potentially are free, then because you have technology, and yeah, maybe about 5% of people can actually use technology broadly to advance themselves and to be extremely productive, but it's very clear that I mean literally the bottom 90 or 90% of people cannot even use tech properly. You know what I mean? Like they can't. They can't even use it right, and it actually becomes a hindrance for most people. So it doesn't really matter if you're living in a free society, because if most people are living paycheck to paycheck, and you also have addictive tech that is very powerful, that could be used to further yourself, and it could be used to self-educate and do all these like crazy amazing things, but it doesn't, like it basically never does for most people. Like I said, I could easily say 80 to 90% of people would probably be more productive without technology. I think that's like a very safe estimate. Um, there are some people maybe who use it mostly productively, but then sometimes they don't. There's that, right? Um, I mean, then there's people, I think most people, like, on rare occurrence, they use it productively, but most of the time they don't use it productively. And then you have kind of the slew that I'm talking about, which is like a pretty sizable chunk where they never do anything productive with technology, and they just let it go. You know what I mean? They just let it go. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at, kind of what I'm thinking about. But anyways, back to this conversation. Then when I said, really the way we could fix things is through forced brain chips, because then you could finally have some kind of like a fair quantitative system. And the problem is, I guess that really struck a chord with him, because, and now here's the other thing too. When I said that, I even prefaced like, this is a more extreme opinion of mine. Like I wasn't just like blurting it out there. Like he basically proceeded to repeatedly insult me personally, constant like personal assaults about how like stupid I was, how I'm not going to use some of the other words, but they were even more demeaning than stupid. And so I don't really want to repeat them, but he said a lot of nasty things about like my person and my character, I think 5 or 6 times throughout the debate, randomly. And he ultimately was not giving as much rationale to his points, but I was. Like, I was giving a lot of rationale to my points, and he wasn't. He would just say something and then say, I'm stupid. Or like at one point, he said, like, I'm not even going to read what you just typed because you're so stupid anyway. I know it's just going to be really stupid. Like he was really getting nasty, because it was the brain chip thing that really, the forced brain chip thing that just really gets people mad. It really gets people mad. I don't know why, but I'm realizing like most humans, they have a very severe aversion to control. Like they just don't like it at all. Even when, oh, actually, I was almost going to forget to get my gas, but luckily my brain kicked in, you know. Luckily my brain kicked in. Yeah, I mean, even if I can't get gas this morning, it's not like it's going to be a huge problem, because I can just either, yeah, get it like on the way home, but I just don't like it's just going to waste a bunch of time, and then like I could have gotten out of work like a lot sooner, and then I might not be able to. Anyways, yeah, like, I mean, this guy was just being super rude. And then he was really sensitive. Like, every time I did something to him, he was like, oh, that's a straw man. Oh, I'm just circling. Because those were, like, the 2 times, like, I sent a chunk of text and he claimed it was a straw man, which I'm not really going to deny that. But I think basically the whole conversation he was straw manning me. So I don't, like, then, like, one time a portion of my response was a straw man, and he got like really offended and pointed that out. When I said he was circling, because he had repeated the same point like 4 or 5 times. He kept saying that a business can't be more efficient because it's all up to like, you can't predict the future. You'd have to be clairvoyant. And I said there's so many other factors in a business than just the predictive or speculative things. It's management, it's how it's run. And he would just ignore that, and just, I think 3 times straight he just kept repeating that you can't make a business more efficient because you can't make a business more efficient. You can't make a business more efficient because a lot's speculation. And he just kept saying that over and over. And he said like 3 times. I was getting tired of it. So I said he was like circling. And he was like, oh, I'm circling. Like, well, what about you? You know what I mean? Like, he just kept, it was like he was just like offended at like everything I was saying. But then he was slinging a lot of mud at me. Like, he was constantly coming for me, constantly directly insulting me. Like, the way I barely even, I don't think that you can compare me just like trying to call out somebody circling and then this guy called me stupid like 3 times. That's like not even the same thing at all. But he got so offended. He got so deeply offended. He was calling me like brother and buddy, like talking down to me the whole time. I never once did that to him. I mean, it was really bad. And at the end of the day, he didn't really bring up much reason or rationale for his points, other than he started accusing me of being a communist. He said like, go live in China, and I was just like, what? Like, I never even, he kept talking about like Russia and saying like Russian socialism, and I was like, what? I never even brought any of this stuff up. Like, I was like, what are you talking about? He kept saying, and he was like, planned economies don't work, in all caps. Planned economies don't work. And to me, that's just like an impossible statement. I mean, there's no way a semi-planned economy would not have like some serious upsides versus one that's just completely disorganized. And I'm not even saying anything about this, but the whole problem is unrestrained capitalism eventually is just going to lead to feudalism. That's the whole problem. And then you're going to have less freedom. And the free market is not even going to be a free market anymore because it gets consumed by monopolies. And when I was trying to explain that about how like Walmart comes in, makes their prices super low, chokes out all the small businesses, he just made up some random, oh, well, this one store near me moved in and they made their prices cheaper, but mostly people don't care and don't go there. And it's like, okay, what does that even have to do with, I don't understand. Like, he's just bringing up like this random thing that came up in his experience or something. Like, he witnessed this thing. Yeah, nobody is here at the oh, well, no, it's just nobody's here. And it's like really frustrating when this happens, because like I have no idea how long I'm going to be waiting here. That's like the problem. Well, actually, no, I don't know where he parks, but there is a sedan. Usually he pulls up in that sedan, so that, unless he has like that many cars, that was usually the car he pulled up in. Oh yeah, no, they're actually open. Wow. It's a Christmas miracle. It's a Christmas miracle. Alright, well, I will be right back, guys. I don't even have my wallet ready to take advantage of the Christmas miracle. But thank goodness for that guy. Oh, wait, I have to change to the, yeah. Alright, I'll be right back. All right. Yeah, no, that was really a Christmas miracle because I don't think they've ever actually been open on time that much. So I wonder if either A, the owner doesn't really celebrate Christmas, or B, even if they do, sometimes the following day, they actually have some time to get rested and restored. See, like, that's like another thing. The other thing, so in this debate, this guy repeatedly kept telling me that I see the world very black and white. Like, I think he said this twice, even after I told him, like, that doesn't make any sense. And the way he was coming across the whole time, like, he was acting black and white. He kept saying, like, planned economies, and he'd go in all caps, don't work. I never even went in caps like this entire conversation. I never used caps. Why would you start typing in cap? Like, I literally, it just sounds like he doesn't understand how economics works. You know? I even think with economics, like the whole free market thing, I actually think deregulation is not even remotely as much of a problem as inheritance. Like, I think you can have like low taxes or whatever, but as long as when like came time for inheritance, things were good, or if like wages were still high with lower taxes, like that's fine. But I just think it becomes a problem when inheritance creeps in and you have like monopolization, which is what's been allowed to happen. Like obviously these corporations, they come in and they destroy the local area and things like that. And yeah, it's just this whole thing. It's this whole thing. He does not understand economics. He kept like, because the other thing we got in an argument about was like business efficiency, and how like I've seen firsthand that most businesses are just not run well. And he kept saying, oh no, like if a business isn't run well, it goes out of business. Like every business that's still in business, that's a testament to them being run well. When businesses aren't run well, they just go out of business. And I was like, what are you talking about? There's plenty of businesses where after a certain point, they basically can't go out of business, even with pretty repeated poor management, because their brand, or their social recognition or whatever, their infrastructure is too high or built up. A lot of times this is going to happen with cellular companies. Like, you're probably going to see Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile for a very long time, because you can't compete in that space. There's so much infrastructure needed. So a lot of people like understand capitalism and economics in a very like primitive way, as if you're still dealing with like a village, and they're not understanding like once you have a modern society, there's certain businesses that are inevitable monopolies, and at that point the business actually doesn't even need to be a good business. Like Verizon would really have to be bad, like in order for them to fall. I mean, they'd have to be really bad. They could right now be really bad and still be completely fine, because but it's like between the three of them, between AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon, if they're all collectively fairly bad, then nobody's going to move off them. And so I obviously have this understanding of things that is very nuanced. It is very like comprehensive. And then he's accusing me of seeing things through a black and white lens. And I just think it's ridiculous, because like what? I don't see things through the world through a black and white way at all. Like it's basically like his processing of things was so poor. He just like took what I said about the forced brain implants, which again, when I said it, I admitted it was a it was an extreme idea. Like, I didn't just like tell him, oh, this is something that I like, this is the core. Oh my gosh. There's no way this just happened. I'm pretty sure my phone just like is starting to try to update. Like, what? Right now? Let's not. I thought I just said no. Ugh, it's such a huge distraction in the middle of trying to drive. I'm gonna have to just go for my other phone. Yeah, this is crazy. This is literally crazy. I did not tell it to do that. I did not. Yeah, that's crazy. I said no. I know I did. Well, I actually now, oh my gosh. It's crazy. Like, I did not tell it to do that. I know I like. Well, I'm not going to say I know I didn't, because I feel like it's possible that I did accidentally hit for it to restart now, but it's like, whatever. Um, Anyways. Yeah, like, I couldn't believe of all the things he was saying, like, I had the black and white worldview. Like, I don't even, my worldview is like not even black and white. My worldview is probably like furthest from black and white as like you can get. Like, I'm actually one of the only people I know who, like, I feel pretty chill about, more left-wing economics or more right-wing economics. Like, I don't even have that much of a like, I just don't even know. Like, people, and I guess their capacity to have and hold a conversation in comparison to me is, it's like dangerously low, and I take that for granted, I guess. Like, I don't know. I just have no idea. Like, it's. Yeah, this is probably the best time, and I actually missed it by like literally 3 seconds. Like, if that thing didn't happen with my phone, I probably would have been a minute earlier. So it's very annoying, but I'm not really sure what to do about that. So, yeah. Well, we made it. Let's just usually have this here. All right. We made it. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe this argument I got in. And the guy was just being so mean and rude to me, and I never was to him, like, the whole time. I was very polite, and he kept like talking down to me, acting like he knew more. And I mean, he was really stupid. He did not know what he was talking about. It's like really weird. But yeah, I mean, of all the accusations to make to me, black and white is really something. Like, it's really something. I cannot believe I'm the one who's open to a forced brain chip. There is absolutely nothing black and white about that. The fact that I even consider that. The other thing, is he said I have this obsession with power and perfection, and it's sick. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm talking about things being more fair. Like, my whole argument, my whole point this whole time, this whole time, um, I've been talking about like how like workers need to be cared for better, and like trying to make things more fair, trying to make like if you make a business more efficient, you can pay workers better, cuz what they do is they managers make stupid decisions and stupid choices, and then the consequences, then they just take it out of the workers' salary. That's what I don't like. And that's what I was trying to say, is that making things more efficient, it usually ends up helping the bottom line in a company, not the top. Although the top usually, I mean, you could make the argument the top ends up like taking it anyway. But I'm saying, like, how could you be saying that to me? With the nature of this like power and perfection. I never once in that conversation was talking about myself or like my own power. It was always in the form of like society. And I don't even need to be the leader. That's what I'm saying. Like, this guy was misreading me like so hard and putting all these labels onto me, like not reading what I was saying properly, talking down to me, acting like I was stupid. And I just like, wow. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. Right? But yeah, we can keep talking about it later, but I do have to get going now. So, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Car Rides with Schla, and it's been Schla, but now it's time to buy Schla. So, see ya, Schla.